my deals are costing me on average with direct mail, costing me about $3,500 per deal. And last year, our average profit per deal was just under $30,000. So those numbers make sense to me. Even if my marketing costs went doubled or tripled or something like that, it would still be a very viable business for sure.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. My name is Brian Driscoll, and I'm here with Pete Reese. What's going on, Pete?
Hey, not much, Brian. Great to be here. I appreciate it.
Pete, why don't you give everybody a little background on how you even got into this space?
My real estate journey started like a lot of other investors. I bought a home for myself and renovated it myself. And then I was like, okay, I could flip homes now. And so we started buying some homes in order to flip them. This was in the early 2000s when things were a lot different, but same in a number of other ways as well. I mean, we saw shows on HGTV and we were like, hey, this flipping thing, we'd like to make a business out of it. And we could do this. When I say we, it's my wife and I. So we went down that whole rabbit hole, started flipping homes. And that was a really good business for a while until the market crashed here in Southern California in about 2008. Thankfully, right before it crashed, I had gotten my broker's license. Just to kind of get better access to deals because I was getting everything on market at the time. And at the time, I pivoted and I just became a listing broker for the banks, REO listing broker. And that was pretty much the only thing that was stuff that was selling at the time. So did that for a couple of years, but I got connected with a bunch of large investment companies. And then after that, I sort of just specialized in finding them deals. I was an investor myself and I knew what they were looking for. And it was easy to kind of cherry pick deals off the MLS at that time. So I just focused on that for a number of years. Then I got out of real estate altogether for some time. I worked on a business with my wife and we kind of grew that. That was a business about blogging and travel blogging and an education business around it with that. We did lots of traveling for like 5 years straight. We were traveling like 150 days out of the year all over the world.
That's pretty nice there.
Yeah. So it was a really cool time. It was a little bit exhausting too, like so much travel. It was kind of hard to, get your regular life in order with that. But it was a good time. I definitely wouldn't take it back. But I had that itch to get back into real estate. I'd gotten out of real estate altogether for a number of years and wasn't investing, wasn't doing anything. But I had that itch to get back into it. And I was just researching different business models. I really didn't want to get into home flipping anymore because I just didn't feel like a good connection with that because I didn't like managing the projects and the contractors and all that kind of stuff. So I was looking for something easier, I guess. So I stumbled into some people talking about land flipping online, and that sent me down a whole rabbit hole. I bought a course on it, and I just jumped all in on it. And my first year, 2021, I did a little bit over 1.2 million in revenue and about 50% gross profit margin. And then year two did almost 3.5. And that was gross profit was about 40% that year. And then last year, which was our third year in the business, did over 8.2 and at about 40% gross profit margin. So we're growing it quickly and looking to do 20 million this year.
Dude, those are huge numbers. Especially everyone looks at, most people say, hey, we did 3 million and they leave it at that. And their profit might be like 5 or 10%.
Yeah,
40,
really.
50% profit margins. Congrats.
Yeah, that's a big thing. We're trying to double our money on each of these deals. And as you can see, kind of like over the long haul, it doesn't quite work out that way. But, if we're 50% gross profit, we're doubling our money. So, so that's kind of what we shoot for. And sometimes we fall a little short on that. Sometimes we, individual deals we do better. Some individual deals we do worse. But overall, it's a very profitable business. And that doesn't even account for the inventory that we're accumulating over time as well. Our portfolio value of the properties that we own, most of these properties outright, has been growing kind of like exponentially as we go. So it's kind of cool to see that progression.
That's cool. So you make cash and then you acquire properties too to start building the wealth and accumulate them as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for the first couple of years, first 2.5 years, really, I was buying everything just cash, like our own cash, buying and selling properties. Buying for cash, selling for cash, or, selling them on the market. And, we would get cashed out. We wouldn't hold notes on any of these properties at all. And then last year, I started, putting out a bunch of content out there and stuff. So a bunch of, private money lenders, I wouldn't say a bunch, but a number of private money lenders reached out and were like, hey, maybe we could do something together here. So the last 6 months or so, I've really kind of been focused on that, using My own cash, a little less. For the smaller deals I do, but the bigger deals, we bring in a private money lender to lend on the property, and that's been working out great.
That's pretty solid. So so you're 3 years, well, you're going on year 4, right?
Yes, exactly. Yep. It'll be starting my 4th year in March. So
in your first year, what did your team look like? Was it just you and your wife, or run me through like we're going to start there, and then I want to know what's it look like now?
First year, it started out with me, and then I brought over another assistant, an assistant that I had working with me at the other company that we had. He was just kind of, I was just kind of taking some of those administrative tasks that I would. First of all, I learned how to do everything myself, and then it was like, okay, I need some help, kind of bringing in some, especially on the administrative side. And he would do kind of like a lot of those tedious tasks I didn't like to do, like building the lists and all this kind of stuff. So I brought him on, and then after that, I brought in an acquisition manager, kind of to do all the phone calls with the sellers and the property owners that were calling in and responding to our outreach. And then after that, I got a transaction coordinator, and I kind of just built it over time. And then it expanded, kind of considerably as we went along. And now I've got 12 people on that side of the business.
Yeah, and I think that's important for people to hear too. Like when you're starting something, a lot of guys are like, "Oh yeah, I want to hire everything out," which is great. But when you're starting out, you got to do most of the work yourself. Number one, to understand what the job even is, to have somebody else do it and learn. And you got to make profit. Like you can't be paying people hoping you're going to make this passive income and get rich quick. Like you got to.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been great, but I had to prove to myself that this business model worked. I had to prove it to my wife that the business model worked. So I had to kind of grow gradually. It would have been great to just from the start, get a team of 12 people kind of helping me out, but you really don't know what you don't know at that point. So it takes some working in the business for a while to really start figuring some of those things out.
Right. A lot of your team now, are they in the US or overseas or a combination?
I'd say, let's see, it's probably about 60% US based and the rest in the Philippines and Pakistan.
It's cool because in this space, there's a lot of stuff you can hire out overseas that's for cheaper dollar. And a lot of times overseas people are more particular too, and they follow instruction better sometimes. And then some jobs you do have to have Americans doing too to understand the space.
I kind of broke it up by any of the stuff that's sort of, dealing with vendors or sellers or title and escrow companies and everything. That's all kind of US based stuff. And then the behind the scenes stuff, the administrative things, I found that they're a really good fit for a lot of overseas, people on our team.
How are you finding people that want to sell the land, and which areas are you buying in?
Well, first of all, I buy all over the US. I'm based in California. Our team is all virtual. We're all around the world, I guess. But we buy properties anywhere. We generate for the first 2.5 years, I generated all of our deals with direct mail. And when I say direct mail, it's actually an offer that we're sending out to people. So an actual offer amount on the letters that we're sending, which is a pretty cool thing, because generally the people that call back, they're either angry that the offer was too low, or they're actually serious about selling. So it kind of does a lot of that filtering out process. The last 6 months or so, we really started diving into, I really wanted to build up some other channels of generating deals. So we've been working on pay-per-click, and also we've been working on cold calling. So we don't cold call, I don't have a team. My team doesn't cold call or anything, but we hired a company that kind of manages that process for us.
Cool. What do you like better? Do you like the digital type of marketing or the mailers, or it's always good to have multiple strategies going all the time. What's your favorite though, you think?
My favorite's definitely the mail, because it allows us to really select the type of properties that we get to buy. So we build our lists and everything from public records. We use DataTree and PropStream and tools like that to build lists. And then a big part of it is what type of property they have. In a lot of areas, we're focusing on 10 acres and above, these rural type properties. With pay-per-click, for instance, it's hard to really narrow down. You can put on your landing pages, hey, we're buying, 10 acres plus land or whatever, but you'll get leads for all kinds of stuff. We get leads from, funeral parlors and stuff that people are selling, even though we're only looking to do land. So, but that's my favorite, definitely the direct mail. Seems like the most serious.
What are some indicators when you're building your list you're looking for?
Yeah, the big thing, I know that a lot of investors are really laser focused on their list. They've got a bunch of different filters. They talk about years of ownership. They talk about maybe a life event or something like that. And they're only sending those people. I'm more focused on the property itself. And I know that I could probably have a better return on investment if I really laser focused on my list, but I'm sending out a lot of mail. My return on investment is still really good. My deals are costing me on average with direct mail, costing me about $3,500 per deal. And last year, our average profit per deal was just under 30,000. So those numbers make sense to me. Even if my marketing costs went doubled or tripled or something like that, it would still be a very viable business for sure. To me, I'm more concerned about missing out on some of those potential deals, that other investors may be filtering out. I know some other investors get it down to, maybe like $1,500, $2,000 per deal or something like that. That sounds great. But to me, I'd just rather kind of find some of those hidden gems that are missing. And some of those, one deal can make a huge difference. So.
Yeah, it's very true. Especially with those numbers too. You're right. You're turning $3,000 into 30,000. It's like, how much can you spend?
Yeah.
It's like you want to just keep funneling money there because that return, you're right. Even if it triples, even turning $9,000 into 30 makes sense.
Right. Yeah, that would be great. In any other business, it's like, why not? Who wouldn't do that?
What's an average deal look like? 'Cause I know there's a lot of different ways for guys to do deals. How do you guys do them? Like, what's your type of deal you're looking for, and how do you structure them?
Yeah. So I did a breakdown. It's interesting you asked that because I did a breakdown of our first 200 deals that we did. We just went past the 200 deal mark in the land flips that we did. And I tried to break down, like what is a typical deal like? What are our most profitable deals? All that kind of stuff. The range that works the best really for us is buying anywhere from, $30,000 to $100,000, purchase price on these properties and doubling our money. A lot of the really good ones ended up being like 30 to 50,000 purchase price and selling for like 100 or 120 or something like that. So those are really good ones. But we've had really big deals that we've sold. Like the biggest one that I've done recently was a 1,500 acre property. Bought it for $450, sold it for $979, and we only owned the property for like 38 days. So there's lots of opportunity. Like that's one of my big things. I want to do bigger and bigger deals going forward, and we've kind of tried to level it up as we've gone on as well. Like you can buy properties it's easy to buy the cheaper properties. It's easy to buy like a $5,000 property and sell it for 20,000 or something like that. There's a lot of those deals out there. It's just the absolute amount of profit for that deal is not really there. And you know how it is with the cheaper properties come more problems. So it's, you would think that the bigger deals are going to be the tougher ones or whatever, but it's really the exact opposite.
Are you buying them all cash? Like, because I know some guys they'll buy them and then they do like under finance and all that kind of stuff. You're doing cash, right? Like you're buying them and you close, right?
Yeah, buying them with cash, closing. And so we actually own it and control the property. We don't wholesale them or anything like that. And then we sometimes do some value add stuff to the properties. And then we put them on the market with a real estate agent and resell them. So, some of the bigger deals now that like this last 6 months, I've gotten private lenders that will put up a portion or all of the amount of the purchase price just because they're ready to do it. And for me, it makes sense to kind of, get some more leverage and everything as well, do more deals. So, we're always trying to buy at 50% market value. So even if a lender is putting, 100% of the money, the purchase funds up to buy a property, it makes sense for both of us because they're protected on the downside for sure. And they'll make a good return on their money.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Say someone's just a normal real estate investor. I call it normal, like they do houses and wholesale stuff like that. Or say they're not even in real estate yet. What do you recommend the minimum that somebody needs to have liquid to get into this space? There's
kind of a couple ways to do things. There's the way that I kind of started out, which is, buying and selling these properties for cash. So you got to have a little bit of a bankroll or access to some funds or family funds or investors or something like that in order to do that way. But the better way, I think, which is another option in this business, is to work with partners. So the common structure, and I've got a program that I've been working with other investors as well on this. It's called partnerwithpete.com. But essentially what happens is the investor gets the deal locked up and submit it to me. I'll review the deal. And if it's an actual deal, like if I project that we're going to double our money and there's a certain amount of profit in the deal for both of us, then I agree to fund the deal. I plug it into my whole team's I take it one step further, though. I don't just fund the deal. I plug it into my whole team's processes. We do the due diligence. We pay for any value add like brush clearing or surveying or perk tests, any of that kind of thing. And then when we resell the property, when the dust settles, we just split the profits 50-50. So it's a really good win-win scenario for the investor. I think it's especially when they're getting up and going, because there's always this apprehension of like, does this work and everything like that. So there's absolutely zero risk for the investor, because if we were to lose money or something like that, that's all on me. And then they get the upside. So they get 50% of the upside. That deal that I was talking about, the 450 and sold it for 979. That was brought to me by a deal partner, and they made quite a bit of money. They got a wire for $180,000 or something like that. So we did a slightly different, but we did a 60-40 split on that one, because I brought in a private lender to put up a lot of the money for it. But still, yeah, they got the contract and they got a wire for $160,000. So it was a pretty good day, and it was great for me too.
Yeah, and you know what? Everyone listening too, there's a ton of value in that, because I know a lot of people are like, especially people that are new, I don't want to give up 50%. It's like, well, number one, the way I see that is, I call you up, and if you tell me the deal's no good, you just saved me a lot of headache, because I shouldn't be buying that deal.
Yep.
And then number two, if the deal is good, I get to start learning from your systems and processes you already built through failing in the past. And it's like a trajectory. It's like you're paying for a school, but you're not really paying for it. You're still getting paid also. So it's like, you said that's partnerwithme.com?
Partner with Pete. Partner with Pete.
Partner with Pete.
Yeah. Yeah. And like what were you saying? You're saying there about like, hey, submitting the deal, and like, hey, if I think it's a deal that's probably, or if I don't think it's a deal, it saved you some time and effort and everything. The thing about it is too, with land. So a deal like that, for instance, you're not going to find any sort of private lender that's going to, put up any sort of money on land like that. You've got to have a track record pretty much, and build contacts and relationships and everything like that, to give people confidence. Or you could, if you've got $450,000 of cash laying around, you could do it yourself as well. But I think it's a win-win scenario, because, I can get the money lined up, and obviously I've got a lot of experience, which tells me what's a deal, what's not a deal, and then they can obviously learn from me and my team and what we do in order to get things done.
It's one of the 5 laws of gold from The Richest Man in Babylon. Partner up with people that already have experience.
I've made a lot of mistakes too. Thankfully I haven't lost money on any of those deals yet. Like my, 200 some deals that we've done, I haven't lost money yet, but I know it's coming. But I have learned so much from then. And, there are certain deals where we made 500 or $1,000 on it and held it for 9 months or something like that. That's not a deal I want to do again, for sure. So I try to take all those lessons and learn from them and not repeat them. So
cool. I got a different question for you. Totally different topic. So I saw in your bio, you're a vegan. You eat vegan.
Yes, that's me.
Run me through this. What do you eat, and what are your thoughts, and what made you do that?
Yeah, well, it's been a progression for me over time. It kind of started, I'm always interested in health. But there's a couple of reasons I did, but I'm a big kind of health nut, you could say, in a way. Like I'm always like working out. I'm always trying to eat better. I want to live a long time. So I've always got that perspective in mind. Eating no meat thing. Hey, I used to be the biggest hamburger eater out there. I always loved hamburgers and steaks and all that kind of stuff, like everyone else. But a number of years ago, I was like, I'm going to just go vegetarian, because I love animals too. And I always had a little bit of a conflict in my mind. Like I just didn't like that aspect of it. And it lined up with the health stuff that I'm really concerned about as well. So I went vegetarian. This is probably 2014, I guess. And my wife's been vegetarian since she was, very young, like 12 or 13 years old. I've got 3 girls, and everyone in my family is either vegetarian or vegan. But then I think it was 2019, I was like, I'm just going to crank it up a notch and go vegan. Pretty much the same thing, except, switching out some fake cheese instead of real cheese and, that kind of stuff, and no eggs or milk or anything like that, which are not a big deal to me. So yeah, so I just took it up a notch further, and, really I hardly ever think about it. It's just easy to me. I feel good. I feel like, I'm doing a good thing for my health, and, I don't have to worry about that conflict I always had in my mind about eating animals. So,
Pretty interesting. Yeah. So what'd you have for dinner last night?
Okay, dinner last night. We've got a place, it's kind of like a fast food place around here. It's called Mendocino Farms. But anyhow, it was like a salad, some like a taco salad type thing. I get a lot. Anyhow, it has Beyond Meat on it, or Beyond or Impossible Meat, one of those others. It tastes like real meat, but that's kind of what I ate. And then I had like a protein shake, and I think that was about it, and an apple. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I've got my go-tos that I have for every meal. It's not like I feel like I don't have energy or don't feel strong or anything like that. None of that stuff.
That's cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. I was just curious because I saw that. And I'm always working on health and eating and things like that too. And I've always been curious about like vegan, not eating meat. So yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's probably a lot easier for me than other people, just because my family and the atmosphere I'm in all the time. It's just like it doesn't even seem like an option. Like I look at a menu, go out to a regular restaurant, and I don't even see the other stuff. I'm like, I don't know. It's weird over time. It doesn't even faze me at all.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense too. Because like at my house, if I were to try that, I still have 3 kids and a wife, and if they're not on board, you got the stuff around, and you got to have really strong willpower until you get through it.
You got to set up that environment. Yeah, the environment's got to be right, or it's going to be real tough. Then you're always relying on willpower, which is hard to sustain.
Hey, Pete, what's the number one book that you would recommend to people?
Oh, I guess it depends. I guess it depends where you're at or what you're trying to accomplish. I think a really good one, if you are actually trying to really get your act together and really accomplish some big goals and things like that. If you haven't read this one, it's a great one. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it's just a great book for establishing, I guess, systems and habits in order to achieve big goals. So you can set the concept of the book is, obviously you can set big goals, you can do all this stuff, but it's not going to happen unless you establish those habits, put those habits in place in order to make those goals happen. So I just really like it. I think it's especially if you're sort of a beginning entrepreneur and you struggle with consistency and things, which we all do. Like I used to struggle with a lot of that stuff as well, but putting the right habits in place and really understanding how you can actually attain those goals is a big thing. And that book really kind of shed a light on a lot of that stuff for me.
Yeah, that's a really good book. I think in that book too, since we were just talking about food, one of the examples they give is if you want to start eating fruit every day or be healthier, make it easier for yourself and stick a basket of fruit on your table so you see it and it helps you build the habit.
That's right. Yeah. I love that concept. And then like the habit stacking thing, the concept of like, okay, in order to say you want to start taking vitamins every day, you just make it so you do that habit after you do something else that's established. Like you brush your teeth, next thing you do is you do your vitamins every day, So stuff like that. And then over time, you find yourself having this chain of like 20 things that you get done without even thinking about it. It's just part of your routine. And then you move on with the rest of your day.
Hey, Pete, really glad you came on here. Everybody listening, Pete has a group, Land Conquest, and it's interesting. Pete has courses and things. He gives one away for free. Pete, tell everybody where they can find the group. What are you guys doing there in the course, and like basically how they can connect?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me and mentioning that. Yeah, the group is called community is called Land Conquest, and you just find it by going to landconquest.com. In the community there, it's a school group. If you've ever been on the school platform at all, so we have a classroom section of the community, and that has an entirely free training program about flipping land. It's my exact business model, A to Z. Like it's really extensive. It's 10 hours of video footage and professionally done and everything. And I know other, people that do this type of training and things, charge thousands of dollars for a similar type course. And I give it away for free. The reason I give it away for free is because I've got other ways that we could work together potentially, and that will be profitable for me. For instance, I want people to go through that course and learn how to find the deals and bring them to me for the Partner with Pete program. And then, then we've got a couple of other mentorship programs as well as part, people are looking for additional assistance in order to get their businesses up and going. So we're getting close to 3,000 members in the school community, which is great. It's been incredible. And just looking to grow that. And so that's the best place to probably start with to connect. Just go to landconquest.com.
That's cool. And that's a big value. I mean, everyone always says you can learn anything in this day and age online. That's one of the places. It's like free information, without really a hook. I mean, Pete wants you to hit him up whenever you find a deal and he can help you make it profitable. So it's 50-50, but it's like kind of like one of those things. It's no strings attached. So that's really cool.
Ooh, no strings attached. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, then, and the way I viewed it is like, hey, I'm going to make this as good as I could possibly make it and give it away for free. And, I just hope people will share it with other people and bring deals. And I know that kind of a rising tide lifts all boats, as JFK said.
All right, good. Hey, Pete, well, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Brian. I appreciate it as well.
Hey, and everyone, thanks for listening. Until next time, get out there, crush it, close some deals. We'll see you guys.